So let's go and break down the science of manifesting from my perspective, from my own personal experience. So I believe by doing these techniques myself, I've dramatically changed my life from being extremely predictable, mundane, leading towards just a life of misery and frustration, to now living in a life of absolute abundance. And literally, I've created reality according to my will. I went really deep inside. What do I really want? What do I want to create? And I use this ritual meditation, which I call the average perfect day, to figure it out, to go really deep and ask some very important questions about what it is that I really want. And I believe magic begins with clarity. You need to have clarity. You need to have a target, a very defined idea of some of the things that you want. It doesn't have to be hyper specific goals, but like by a certain date, exact date and time, you want to say, quit your job and live in a paradise island. I don't mean it like that. What I'm saying is having some idea, clarity of what you want your life to be. So by asking a series of questions that we do in our average perfect day technique, you can determine more of what it is that you want to attract in your future reality. So questions would be like, if there was no limitations in terms of health, money was no object, what would your life be like? So you'd break this down into a series of questions. Let's imagine there's an average perfect day, a day which you can live over and over and over again, not a day of excess or extreme things that you do, but a day that you can live over and over and over again, and it would be your perfect day. So where would you wake up? Describe your ideal building or environment to live in or work in. Who would you wake up next to? Where in the world would you wake up? What would be your location? What would you have for breakfast? Who would be your friends? Describe their personalities and characters. What would be the kind of conversations you have together? And then you would also need to have some source of income to pay for all of this. Let's be real here. So how would you create an income stream? What would you do? Would you have a business, a job? If so, what kind of work would that be? And through this series of questions, you can determine what would be your kind of ideal clients? What's the kind of work that you would align with that would make you feel passionate and enthusiastic about waking up every single day, and so on. So we can go really deep. We can go much, much deeper with this questioning and self-inquiry to determine what really makes you tick, what you're really passionate about. You can ask some other questions like, what if you had 500 years to live and you could live those 500 years without any worries about your health and money? What would you do with your time? And then you can switch that around and put a time limit to your existence. Say you have 6 months left to live. What would you do with your time? And let's say you were to write your own obituary, your gravestone, for example. How would you want to be remembered when you die? So these are all the kinds of questions you can start asking. And these are important questions to figure out who you truly are. What is it that you want? This is the beginning to make magic happen. It's to figure out your true will. Who are you really? And actually breathwork itself and our Soma breath techniques can actually wake this up inside you. It can help you unravel the layers of conditioning that makes you believe what you think you want based on this conditioning. It's not usually what you truly want. And then you can have some clarity about where you really want to be in your life, what's really important to you. And it can actually raise your self-esteem to help you have the motivation and drive to actually go after this. So you'll be surprised when you start to ask these questions and you get really clear about what you want, then a shift happens. And this is where the magic starts to begin. Because the way you see the world is through filters, through a lens. It is absolutely impossible for you to be able to tune into every single frequency of information that bombards you every single day and be able to handle it because you'd be overwhelmed. You'd just be overloaded with noise and information. So your brain does an amazing job using the reticular activating system to filter out from this noise and tune into what you govern to be important. This is your belief system. Your reality tunnel is what is shaped based on this belief system. And these filters are hard-coded into you at a very young age. So the problem is that we believe that we can't change, that you're never going to change and it's too late. Or there is an ignorance about your ego and what your ego is and where it comes from. And this is the default mode network in your brain. So quite often we don't change, or we become very stubborn about our beliefs, and therefore our life becomes predictable. And we may want to change, but we don't because our ego doesn't let us. It self-sabotages every opportunity that's presented to you, or you just ignore it. You don't tune into it. So creating magic is all about opening up to new opportunity and tuning the lens into another frequency. The frequency aligned with what it is that you really want. So talking about Dean Radin again for a moment, he discusses the ability for the human consciousness to influence matter on an atomic level. And we now have a quantum understanding of the world. And actually, Hans-Peter Dürr revised Einstein's equation E equals mc squared and made it more simple, stating that actually E equals M, energy equals matter. That's right. So everything is energy. All matter is energy and coexists at the same time. This is the aduality in quantum science. And pranayama, yoga, Ayurveda, for example, this Vedic science is based on the quantum physics point of view. And your human body is a component of the mind, and there's many layers of mind. Where is the mind? Never mind, because it's very hard to grasp what is the mind. The true brain goes beyond the one in your head. So with our Soma breath techniques, what we do is we tune in to that part of the mind that is not robotic. And then using that, we can actually fine-tune the robotic part of the mind, the brain, the autonomic nervous system, to change the filter so that we take the right decisions to create the right results that we want based on the actions that we take. And we may then become more open and aware of new information. Think about the amount of things that have happened in your life that are a result of you reading a book or attending a certain class. That information could have changed your life forever. For me, it was becoming open to a new way of living that led me to discover a book called The 4-Hour Work Week, where I learned about how to create a location independent business. That one openness in my mind to a new opportunity, something that I may have just written off as internet scam or just some kind of fad. It, doesn't really work. But because I was open, I read that book, it gave me a whole new perspective of doing business, creating a business, and how I can create a business around my own passion. And look, it changed the course of my life forever. And I believe that is magic. Just one book and being open to it and following it and doing the law of action, not just believing the law of attraction without action. I believe this is true magic. This is real magic. Is our ability to become open and our ability to change the filter with which we see the world that is aligned with where we want to go. So as I went really deep on what it is I really want to manifest, to create, I realized that I didn't want to be working in a cubicle anymore. I wanted to get out of this negative environment I was surrounded by in this pharmacy that I was working in. I wanted to have a business around my passion through music, through helping people spiritually and with their health and well-being. I wanted to be around a community of like-minded people. It was so hard to make friends and real friends who were aligned where I was before. I wanted a way to stay healthy without being dependent on stuff. I wanted to be free to choose where I lived. And I need to be in the sun. I thrive off the sun. So I wanted to be able to live in a location where I had inspiring views, beautiful weather, amazing people, and good internet, obviously. And boom, it all manifested, unfolded. And sometimes you don't always get what you want, but you get what you need. First, I went to San Diego, actually. And although I was living this lifestyle there, it was extremely expensive to live there. And I felt people there were just constantly trying to chase money to be able to pay the bills, to be able to live that lifestyle. And this kind of changed the culture there. It wasn't fully aligned with my vision. And then I discovered in Koh Phangan and Bali the same quality of life, if not better, way better quality of life for a lot cheaper. And by being open, staying open, then my life changed according to my will. And it felt like magic was happening. Okay, so that's the first step, is clarity. Clarity is the first step.